All right. So I did a video a few days ago, some of the worst writing advice given to me. Now, this is some of the best writing advice given to me. And like I did with the last one, I'm going to be lazy. I'm just going to shoot off the top of my head. I don't have a list, I don't have anything specific. And I think these videos work well when I'm just kind of talking. I don't. I do work. I write books, and I don't want to write lists. I will do grocery lists though. If I get because I get hungry. But then I said to my wife, "Hey, can you order? Can you order me cinnamon raisin bagels? Hey, how about another pack of sausage? How about a box of pork roll? Because I'm in Florida and we have to have pork roll in boxes. If you don't know what pork roll is, it's a New Jersey delicacy. Anyway, some of the best writing advice given to me over the years. I think some of it is common sense. Some of it is things that you're like, oh yeah, that's not a stretch. That makes a lot of sense. The first one I can, off the top of my head, is to read and read a lot. A lot of authors will tell you that. I know Stephen King says it. A lot of other authors say it. But it has definitely helped me. And also, not to only read in my genre, but or subgenre, but to read in as many different things as you can. So for the most part, probably I'm guessing maybe a third of the books that I read every year are nonfiction books. Yes, I've written nonfiction books in my career. I have 200 and something releases to date. I think three of them are nonfiction books, but I'm not reading nonfiction books because I want to write another nonfiction book. I'm reading nonfiction books because I want to learn, because I want to learn about people. I want to learn about history. I want to learn about things for my writing. I'm also interested in reading them because they're interesting to me. As a kid, I didn't read a ton of history. I read a ton of World War II and Vietnam history. My dad served in Vietnam and saw combat. And so I read a lot of those books. I was interested in that when I was a kid, but not much of anything else. And now I read a ton of history books, autobiographies. There's that commercial with the acting like your parents, or and the one thing is like, who reads books about submarines? And the guy's like, my dad. And I'm like, my kids can say that because I'll read a book about a submarine about submarines. So you know also, like, if I'm reading, and I'm not going to go, hey, I'm going to read this you know romantasy, this fantasy romance book, because that's not my thing. But this one here is driving me nuts. But I will read other things because I want to read a good story, but I also want to learn the structure. I also want to learn the tropes. I also want to learn what works in other things. So if I'm ever writing something, I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna do this a little bit different. This story could use an element of, say, science fiction. This could use an element of, you know, uh, you know, political thriller, supernatural, horror, whatever, crime thriller, noir, whatever it is. I want to be well read in all of those things, so I can, if I go, oh, I see a magazine is looking for a science fiction noir story. I'm like, I've written tons of science fiction stories. I've written a ton of noir stories, and I've probably written several mashups already. So I know what it is because I've read a lot of that. So I think that's important. I think to be able to write things like that. I think for me that's important. So read it, get to know it, learn it. I think that's really good. Um, Another good advice that I got over the years was basically build great characters more than plot. Plot is there's no different plot. There's a handful of plots. We've all used them. We've all used them millions of times. There's writers that have written these for 100 and something years and have done a much better job than any of us ever could. Let's be honest. But I think really for me as a reader and as a writer, I need to have some really good characters. I need that character to really, really drive the book. So I say this a bunch of times. I've probably said it a bunch of times in these videos. Let's say it again. If you have a great character and you have a decent plot, you're going to have a great book, generally speaking. If you have a decent character and you have a great plot, you're going to have a decent book because the reader needs to take ownership of that character, of those characters. They need to see something of themselves in those characters. They need to feel like I could be part of this story. I am the main character, or I am the sidekick, or even I am the villain, whatever your thing is. I think that's important. That's important for people reading it to understand and to get it. You know what I'm saying? To get and know that hey, this is this is something I like. These characters I like. Especially if you're creating a series and you're using this character. There's a lot of writers that use certain characters that you want to read over and over. So when I was starting my Dirty Deeds series, and I had the main character kind of fleshed out, but not a lot, and I was pitching it to my wife, but I was telling her about the plot and this and that, and she said, "Stop, tell me about the character." And I said, "All right, why?" She said, "Because she's a reader. She's not a writer at all, which is great. She's a huge fan of Janet Ivanovic, the Stephanie Plum character." And she said, "I've read all the books up to date at that point. I can't tell you plot wise what book 7 is, what book 8 is, but I can tell you who the love interest was. I can tell you what problems Stephanie was having in her private life. I can tell you those things because that's why I'm reading these books. I'm reading these books because I want to know more about the characters." And I thought, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. There's a great writer, uh, Dawn Lee McKenna. She's no longer with us. She passed away a few years ago. I got to meet her once at a book signing. She was amazing. It was one of her book signings in Apalachicola in Florida. As I came through the line, she ran over, gave me a big hug, and it was great. Love the woman. Love her books. And I look at her books, and it's the characters. And I say to her, if you wrote a 63,000 word book with your main character and the main villain in Apalachicola, and you put those two sitting on top of a shrimp boat, having a conversation for 63,000 words, I would love it because the characters are so fleshed out. They're just so good. And so anything by Dawn Lee McKenna, you need to read. She's just a wonderful writer. She was a wonderful person. I miss her dearly. I wish we had more time to spend with one another. So those are some of the things. Another great advice I got was to do book signings, do book conferences, do conventions, and don't just put a monetary value on it. Now, here's the thing. If you can't afford them, then don't do them. It's like anything. It's like gambling. If you can't afford to lose that $100, then don't bet that $100. I'm also going to give you another word of advice that my brother never learned. Don't bet on the Knicks. You're going to lose all your money. Anyway, so when I go to a convention or a conference or whatever, it costs money. Say it cost me $2,000 for the weekend. That's hotels, that's for a table, that's for food, that's for gas, that's for all that stuff. I don't ever go, well, I have to sell, if I sell each book at $10 and I have to sell 200 books, but then it costs me so if I have to sell 250 books to break even, yeah, you know what? I might know that number, but that's not why I'm there. I'm there to meet potential new readers. I have over 200 releases to my name, which means, in theory, I hook one reader that weekend, one, and they buy a book for $10 from me, and then they go through over the next 2 years and they buy 200 more books from me. They love me so much. They knock it out of the park, and I've made my money back on that convention. And that's how you have to look at it. You have to look at it long term. And also, let's be honest too. All that money that I'm spending on all that stuff, it helps me in my taxes at the end of the year as well. So it's not a loss. A loss is you go to the convention like that. I went to a convention a couple years ago, and I sold like 4 books, and I made like $35 or something ridiculous, and it cost me well over $1,000 or more. That money's never going to be made up. But if you string them all together, I think I've done quite well with doing signings and everything else. I like doing local signings. There's a couple of bookstores here in Jacksonville that I'll do book signings. They're not asking for table prices or anything. They're just basically, hey, bring your books, set up outside or set up in the library, and whatever you make, you make. One bookstore will take their cut, but everything's run through the register, so I don't have to bring money with me or my credit card thing or anything. So those are fun. Those are a day. That's 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, whatever it is. What else am I going to do on a Saturday? I might as well go and meet people and try to talk to people. I don't hard sell them. I'm not the standing in front of my table screaming, hey, do you like books? Do you like books? Come over here. I see that all the time. And you might sell a book that way, but that person's never going to read that book, and that person is never going to buy another book from you. So I'm out there selling myself. I'm out there having a conversation. Hey, that's a great Nirvana shirt. Whatever. Having a conversation. They want to talk books. We talk books. They want to buy a book. That's great. I'm there. If I don't sell a book, but I met a lot of people and I handed out business cards and I've handed out bookmarks, maybe I'll get a sale out of that. The other last piece of advice, maybe the last piece, unless I can think of something else. Think of this, 2 things. Think of this as a career, and think of this long term. So anything you're doing today, your immediate reaction is like you're at a book signing and you're hustling to sell some books. The goal is long term. Can I make this reader one of my first 1,000 readers? Can I sustain a career in this? Because people are just going to keep coming back, and they're going to buy stuff from me because I'm a good writer. Maybe because they enjoy my characters. Maybe they enjoy my books. Maybe they just like me. However that works out, as long as they're spending money on me, I'm happy with that. I've met a ton of readers that I consider friends. I've met a ton of other authors that I consider friends. I've met a lot of people that I don't like, or maybe that don't like me. Whatever. That's your problem, buddy. But overall, you have to look at this as a career. I look at this as a career. This will be my 15th year being able to write full time, to not have a real job. And that's awesome. Not a lot of people are able to do this. Not a lot of people are able to sustain a career for this long. So for me, that's a cool thing. For me, that's the dream. That's always been the dream and the goal. And I've made it. And now, how do I keep that going? Well, YouTube videos, to get monetized, to be able to give out this advice, to be able to interact with people who are going to go, you know what, maybe I will check out one of his books. Maybe I will buy something. That's always, that's the goal, right? Isn't that the goal? That's the goal. It's the goal. But to look at everything you do long term, to say, okay, am I wasting my time, say, with Patreon? Okay. Say with Substack. Say with an author page on Facebook. Say with your website. All these things, are they making me money today? And or are they going to make me money long term? And these are the things as a writer you have to figure out, especially if you're a new writer. I see a lot of writers who go, okay, I just wrote my first book and I'm gonna buy a yacht with all the money I make. And then they never write a second book because they're like, well, that was a lot of work and the system must be broken. It's not me, but you could have written the greatest book ever. But if nobody knows that book, then you're dead in the water. So you have to build this. You have to get a backlist. You have to be on social media. You have to be able to again find that first 1,000 readers. So that's some of the best advice I've gotten. Where um, you got to look at this again. You might be watching this and going, "Yeah, I'm just doing this for the fun. I just want to write a book and put a book out." That's not a problem. I when I was younger, I would be like, I don't understand those people. Like I would get mad. Why don't you want to be a full-time author? Why do you want to work some crappy job? Blah, blah, blah. But I realized this isn't for everybody because the writing part is such a small part of this. It's the promotion. It's the if you're self-publishing, I got to find a cover artist. I got to find an editor. I got to find a formatter. I got to do Amazon ads. I got to do Facebook ads. I got to do BookBub ads. I got to do this and this and this and this and this. And it's like, when do I have time to write another book? And so, those are some of the things that, for me, that makes sense. That's important. I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of other stuff. Networking with other authors was always a good thing. That's a best practice. You gather your tribe. You find people who are writing stuff similar to you. You're finding people that are really good writers that you can promote, and you're not promoting them because you're like, well, pro quid pro. I just shared your book 3 times, so you have to share mine 3 times. No, you're gonna get people who are selfish. It's with anything, not just in writing, obviously. You hope those people do the right thing. You hope those people help you. You also make sure if somebody does help you that you return the favor. And that's even as much as a comment on hey, congratulations on the new book, whatever. Sharing the new book, watching their interviews, different things. So for me, that's all. I think that is great writing advice to be out there. The last thing I'm going to leave you with is I'm going to try to figure out how to say this the nicest way. Don't be a dick. That's probably the best way to say that. There are so many people in the writing community I've met over the years, and a very, very small percentage of them are jerks. They're selfish. There are people that came up when I came up, or they were coming up, that new group of kids kind of thing. And then they had a hit. Then they had a book that sold, or one of their books was made into a movie. And all of a sudden, that guy becomes a jerk. That guy doesn't stop at your table when you're at the same conventions anymore. That guy is, he's surrounded by what I call his yes men, people who are just telling him how great he is, and he's sucking it up. And obviously, this is based on a real person. I won't give you his name, but if you know me, you probably know the name. And I've seen it a bunch of times where, listen, I don't expect, hey, you've made it. You got a movie out. You got a big book. You're in a big 5 publisher, whatever it is. You don't stop being nice to everybody around you. I'm not expecting you to stop at my table and have a 2-hour conversation like we used to have. But maybe, hey, how's it going? Maybe a wave, maybe something, rather than you can't do anything for me anymore, so I'm going to walk past you. Those are the type of things that drive me nuts. Another thing, for me, after doing this for 30 plus years, 15 years, full time, I have no problem mentoring other authors, newer authors coming up. You have a question for me? I'm going to answer it. You have a question for me? I'm going to answer it either in a video here, or we're going to talk on the phone, exchange some emails. We're going to hang out and go grab dinner at a book signing or a conference or something. I have no problem with any of that. I like talking shop. I like talking about the business. I like talking. I like talking about myself. It's an ego thing. So if you have those questions, I want to help you. I want to answer them for you. I want to tailor my answer to where you are in your career. There's no sense if somebody's like, hey, I'm writing my first book and I'm 2 chapters in, and I'm like, okay, let's talk about promotion. That doesn't make any sense. That's not helping anybody. So I think helping other authors, I think, is also something that works. So when I was first starting out on this is, again, 15 years or more than 15 years, 2 authors online helped me. And they probably don't even remember it. But for me, as a brand new author coming in, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, this is when Amazon, ebooks were first starting out, and self-publishing was no longer a dirty word. And authors that had big 6 contracts were realizing I can make more money doing this on my own. 2 authors stand out as giving me a ton of great advice back then. Scott Nicholson, and J.A. Conrath. Brain fart. Those 2 authors really, really helped me out back in the day. Definitely check out their books too. Great, great authors. And so for me, I always remember that, and all these years later, and I always will be willing to help if you have a genuine question for me, if you have questions, concerns, comments. And so I'm here. I'm here to help. And for me, it also takes some time for me to, again, talk shop. There's a couple authors that in years past, we would do a Sunday morning get together kind of thing. I'm doing that now with the guy who Peter Marsh, who is currently writing and wants to get his first stuff released. And so, every Sunday morning we get together on a video call, and we write together, and he asks me questions, and we talk about life and stuff and everything else. And that's fun for me because I'm not just sitting here 7 days a week by myself. That's why I like doing the daily Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm on here and I'm doing writing. I'm live on Twitch and also YouTube Live, and people are in the comments, and we might be talking about music from the 80s, hair metal stuff from the 80s. We might be talking about what movies we're watching, what TV shows we're watching, what books we're reading, food. It doesn't matter. We're just having a conversation, and that lets me to get out there and to talk to people and stuff. So, in closing, be positive. This is the long game. This is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And any other cliche you can think of, I may pretend I said all of them. And that's what it is. That's literally, that's what it is. You got to look at this career-wise, long-term. You have to look at everything I'm going to do. What's my return on investment now and in the future? When I started getting serious back in November doing these YouTube videos, on November 9th, I had 355 followers. And the year before, a ton of my videos had been watched. So I was on an uphill climb trying to get my hours as they dropped off each day. I had to make up those 40 and 50 hours, and I'm getting like a +1 or +2 hours. But I'm like, I'm not giving up. I know I can monetize this channel. I know I'm giving advice that some people are enjoying. If you're not enjoying it, still watch and give me my hours so I can get monetized. Otherwise, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I will tag my my Amazon page on this too. Check out some of my books. Buy something. You know what I would appreciate? That. I also appreciate questions. If you have an idea for a future one, every Wednesday and every Sunday, I put out a new video. Amongst other things, I do a coffee of the day every day. I do a lot of videos. I enjoy doing this. This is part of my daily routine because I'm looking at it short term and long term. This is going to help me, and hopefully, one of these videos will help you as well. All right, I'm done. I'm gonna get down off of my soapbox and look for a new video similar every Wednesday and every Sunday. So Thank you very much. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for watching more of my videos.